You held me in your arms and wiped away my tears. Not even in a million years can I ever repay you for what you've done for me. You were there when I felt that there was no place for me. You were there to show me how to truly believe in the miracle of creation, in the good and the bad. Oh, how I love you, Mom and Dad.
Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's Nadir bin Nasib, one of the founders of OutstandingMuslimParents.com and your host of Outstanding Parents with Huda TV. And welcome. Alhamdulillah. Definitely good to see you. And this is where we encourage parents to be outstanding, not just average. As a matter of fact, when I think of the word average, a quote comes to my mind. I think of average. Okay, who really wants to be average, first of all? But the quote is, it says that average is the top of the bottom and the bottom of the top. Who wants to be average? Who wants to have the average spouse or average attorney or average really anything? Who wants average children? So we want to strive to be outstanding. So today's show, we're going to be talking specifically about motivation and discipline. And though we've touched on it briefly before, inshallah ta'ala, you'll see how it ties into your daily life, especially with your children. Okay, so I want to make sure I'm on task, but we have to understand that our children are motivated in the same fashion that we're motivated. We have this universal principle with human beings dealing with pain and pleasure. Okay, we like pleasure, of course, and we want more of that, and we dislike pain. The challenging thing is that when we associate different things to pain or to pleasure, that's when we kind of decide which way to go, if you will. So, for example, everything we do is tied in one way or another to pleasure or pain. So if I'm going to, let's say, eat what's known as healthy, and I'm consistent on it, it's because I've associated pleasure, whether it be energy or vitality or my health, to going to do that. All right. Not only in my mind intellectually, but I've impressioned it really on my body. OK, or I've associated some pain to it. Maybe I know someone who's had some type of disease because of bad eating, bad foods, genetically modified organisms, if you will. Right. So I might have seen someone go through a lot of pain due to their diet. Therefore, what I do is change myself because I don't want to experience that pain. So we like to distance ourselves from pain and bring ourselves closer to pleasure. And alhamdulillah, this principle is applied all throughout Quran. When we think of Allah Ta'ala telling us about Jannah and Jahannam, when he talks about Jahannam, we don't want any parts of it. We want to move far away from it. The Prophet ﷺ, when he warned us about these things, we want to stay far away from it. But when Allah Ta'ala talks about Jannah, we want to come closer to it. This is just a natural propensity in us as humans to want to move towards pleasure and away from pain. And we see it naturally when babies are very young. If they're wet or they're disturbed or not getting some attention, they cry. Once they get whatever it is, they're quiet, they're happy, they're content, they smile, they play. We just grow into adults and have different things that we tie to pleasure and pain due to our references. So how does this apply in your children's life? How do we really find our motivation? And I'm going to let you know very quickly that the way we find it is in the questions that we ask ourselves. So the quality of your life can really be based upon the quality of the questions that you ask yourself. This is what I mean. If I ask myself something like, oh man, why does this always happen to me? Or why do I have to do that? Why, Ramadan is coming up and it's so early in the morning, I have to get up. Pretty disempowering, right? Not good questions. But the crazy thing is that your brain is going to give you whatever answers you search for. So if you say, give me 10 reasons not to go to the gym, or give me 10 reasons to go to the gym, your brain is going to find these reasons for you. So if I say, give me 10 reasons not to go to the gym, and maybe that, it's too early, or I really don't have the time, I have these other responsibilities, or, I have to get in the car, then I have to pack this bag, then I have to go out and not knowing who's going to be there, what they're going to be wearing, I have to pay a fee, pay parking. All of these different excuses will come up because that's the question that you asked. What reason should I go? Well, I want to be healthy for my family, have vitality, have better energy, be more attractive, feel better about myself, have more oxygen and blood flowing through my veins, have more longevity, and so on. So your brain is going to give you whatever you ask of it. So it's very important that we ask empowering questions. Now, here's the funny thing. Many of us develop different things, and we don't know where they come from. So we may put pain on something or put pleasure on another thing. And I can relate this to before I had accepted Islam and become Muslim. I didn't know before I had become Muslim that there were certain things that are haram and halal. We had no concept of that. When I used to be Christian, you could pretty much do whatever you want to do, pretty much. Okay, and you just make prayer, ask for forgiveness later, or whatever. You kind of play a game with it, if you will. Unfortunately, that's just the way it was, and that's how I lived at the time. But alhamdulillah, I came to Islam, and Allah Ta'ala makes good what is good and makes bad what is bad. So in Jahili, I didn't know alcohol was bad. Yeah, it had some bad effects or had some other good thing with it in Jahili. But you come to Islam, it's haram. It's clear. So my motivation now is I have the pain of any type of punishment coming from Allah Ta'ala if I deal with something haram. That is stronger than the pleasure of anything that Allah Ta'ala said is haram to go toward. Now, here's the thing. We have to be able to move this same type of thinking into our children. Now, a part of that celebrity that we have, though, they listen to us. They believe us. And again, I'm talking about starting young. It's a little different if maybe you accepted Islam, like myself, maybe in teenage years, or you might have already had children, or you have a blended family. Now it's different because your children can be older. They could have seen this switch in behavior, and they already have formed a number of different beliefs. So, the motivation can be a tad bit different with what they're looking for. But let's talk about something. Now, one of the most powerful questions we can ask ourselves is why? Now, based upon this why, and why just means I'm searching for the reason behind my desire to want something or do something. So why is a very powerful question. Now, the Prophet ﷺ let us know in what could mean there are two bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wherein most people are deceived. Health and spare time. Health and spare time. So what I'm going to do is I want to go and I'm going to find a motivation, but I'm going to start with the area of health because that applies to us, applies to our children and our families. And this is one of the bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that most of us are deceived of. Okay? So let's say I ask you a question. Again, the power of questions. The great thing is as you begin to up the power of questions, that means you're raising your standards. When you ask yourself better questions, more empowering questions, you get more empowering answers. So in this situation, let's say I'm talking to myself and I say, hey, what do I want to do for my physical health? All right. And I'm thinking to myself because we talk to ourselves. That's really what thinking is really asking questions, making distinctions in our heads. So say, what do I need to do for my physical health? Look at my body, feel it, okay. I know how I'm feeling. I know what my energy levels are. And so I answer myself. I say, I want to lose weight so I can be healthy. Here's where the power comes in. We don't just stop there. I want to lose weight so I can be healthy. We want to say, hey, why? Why do you want to do that? Now, that allows us to go deeper. So my next question, as I say, I want to lose weight, I want to be healthy. And I ask myself, well, why do you want to lose weight? Why do you want to be healthy? I say, well, to better take care of my children, to play with them and with my spouse. Okay, why? What's the reason for that? Well, because I love them, want to have fun with them. Why? Well, because it'll make them happy and myself happy as well. I'll feel good. One of the things you'll recognize, the further you dig down into something, it will come to an emotion, a feeling, a state of being, if you will. So we move based on emotion. We make decisions based on emotion, how it will make us feel, not necessarily the end result all the time. Okay? So we continue. All right, make me happy, make my family be happy. That's that emotional state I'm talking about. Well, why do you want to do that? Well, I want a happy home and a happy family. I want to have peace around. Notice these feelings and what I want, and I really get to the core belief of something. Now, let's get specific. What does lose weight mean? We have to get specific. We don't necessarily want to lose muscle. I don't want to lose muscle, right? I want to lose fat and build muscle, or some people call it toning up. Okay, great. Now, mind you, this is going on in my head. So these are powerful questions. The next question is, well, what can I do right now in order to move in that direction? Now I'm asking my brain an empowering question. I'm asking my brain to move toward my motivation. I'm asking my brain to, I'm commanding my brain actually to give me some reasons, give me some ways that I could move in the direction I want to move right now. So, question is, how can I do something right now? Well, my brain says, drink more water. Maybe get a workout book, get a different nutrition guide, evaluate your eating, keep a food diary. Maybe take a picture with your smartphone of everything you're eating and share it with friends so they can see what you're eating. Kind of keep you accountable if you really want to lose fat. Okay, these are a number of different ideas that start with right now because I asked the empowering question of what I wanted for my physical health. But more importantly, I dug deeper through several layers to get to the core. Now, let me ask you a question. Do you think a person that has 100 reasons to get something done will be more successful than a person that has 2 reasons? Numerically, yeah, but I'll tell you this, it really depends on how strong these 2 reasons are, because these are reasons that can propel you forward if they're strong enough reasons. But if they're superficial surface reasons, we know the deal. Most people in the United States, for example, we're talking about over a third of the entire population is fat, overweight, obese. They know what they need to do. There's more information today available on health and nutrition than ever, but they still remain fat because it's not a must, it's a should. And we'll talk about the difference, inshallah ta'ala, after we come back from break. So hold on, because we're about to get to some really good stuff. I'll see you in a minute, inshallah. Stay tuned.
Oh, how I love you, Mom and Dad. Oh, how I love you, Mom and Dad.
Welcome back. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Okay, now right before the break, we talked about the differences in musts and shoulds. Now, here's a very interesting concept. If something must be done, we know that there's really no excuse for it. It must be done. We have to do it. If there's a should, well, you know, it should be done, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. These 2 different words, these 2 different concepts make things very, very challenging to people who are not committed. For example, I have a friend of mine, love him to death, very good brother. Well, with his health, he's not in good health. He's overweight, tired, stuff like that, has a lot of stuff to do, takes care of his family and rips and runs a lot. But living in America, you know, the fattest planet on the earth, even though they have 24-hour gym facilities, and we all have 24 hours in our day, that's where we are all equal no matter what. Okay, but there are different excuses. The guy says, listen, you know I should do this. I should be doing that. Maybe I'll get to it after Ramadan, or, you know, inshallah, when this new year starts. And so there's a lot of different shoulds and excuses. The first thing I'm going to let you know, as an outstanding Muslim parent, you have to stop shoulding all over yourself. You must stop that. I should do this, should do that, should do this, should do that. You must stop shoulding all over yourself. Because when you do that, you give yourself excuses. You give yourself excuses, guess who sees that as that celebrity? Yeah, our children. They see that, yeah, we should do, but we don't do. Now, the same type of concept exists in Islam. We know that we have fard that must be done, or there's a penalty attached. You know, it's wajib. Then you have mandub or mustahab. All right, that's recommended. You get extra barakah for it. So this is kind of the same idea between a must and a should. You have an individual that says, hey, listen, I must lose this weight, or I'm going to have a serious situation according to my doctor when it comes to my heart. That person is more motivated. Okay, now they're motivated by pain. Notice that. You be motivated by pain or pleasure, but they're motivated by the pain. They want to move away from a bad heart condition. Therefore, they want to do something and must do something different. As opposed to the individual that says, you know, I don't know, I've had this weight on so long, but, I know I should be doing this, and I'll try. I'll start a new diet, and they start and they stop, or they up and down, they yo-yo. Well, what this has to do with our children, we do the same thing. We cannot motivate anyone. What we can do is try to help them find their inspiration. All right? Or we can help them try to find their motivation. All we can do is really inspire. So if I'm going to speak with you about losing weight, I'm going to ask you to ask yourself those questions. Why do you want to do it? And why, until it gets down to the core. And I want to know if that core is something that is emotionally strong inside you. If that is really peaceful, the examples that I came up with when I said, to be with my family and take care of them and have more fun and have a peaceful home. Is that really something that I value? Is that something that I value immensely where it's going to cause me to go ahead and make sure I get to the gym, drink more water, lessen up on the simple carbs and stuff like that? Because if it is, well, alhamdulillah. Now I know I'm moving in the direction of my goal or desired outcome, but more importantly, that's my motivation. That will keep me consistent. It's not just a wish. And we talk about wishes because they don't change anything. But it's that decision. Once you make the decision, that's where change occurs. Once you make that decision, that's where change occurs. And the crazy thing is that when you don't make that decision, when you have indecision, that's what prevents change from occurring. All right? So think about that. How can we inspire our children to be motivated about something? Well, not necessarily that difficult. We do it at a very early age. Sometimes people call it bribes. If the child is crying, you're somewhere you want them to be quiet, then we give them a sucker or a lollipop, give them a popsicle, or they continue to ask for something and we're tired of them asking. So what we do is, distract them. We give them a toy, or we tell them, hey, what's wrong? Or a child may just want some attention. Oh, I hurt my elbow, and they come in crying. And you say, oh, we kiss it and make it better. They want some attention. They want their recognition. Well, we have to ask questions. We have to ask questions of our children to find out what their values are, especially as they get preteen and teenage. Because most of us develop likings for things not knowing why. For example, in the United States, for years, they had commercials that really promoted cigarettes. Lots of different types of smoking cigarettes and stuff like that continually until it was banned like in the 70s or something like that. As just known poison, right? Well, people, women in particular, were marketed to with specific types of feminine cigarettes with these filters that are supposed to be less dangerous. Now, of course, billions of dollars later and lots of lawsuits and lots of death has proved that to be wrong. However, they developed a liking for it, not on their own accord, but because someone else planted that seed inside them. Someone else planted the seed of what's cool, what's nice, okay? So we have to go ahead and do the same thing at home. We have to use our celebrity status, that role model status, to show what's cool, what's real, what's not, to expose the easy and simple tricks of shaitan. All right, that takes discipline on our parts because, it's hard to follow someone that tells you to do something, but they don't do it. All right, isn't that really the definition of hypocrisy? To say you're going to do something but don't do it? Let's not go there. So here's the challenge. We may want to change the behavior. We want to change some belief, if you will. How can we do it? Well, to stay strong, when you find your motivation, what that core is, I really want a peaceful home. In this example, when it comes to my health, I really want a peaceful home. I want to be able to play with my family, have energy and vitality and so on, right? Well, how can I make not doing these new actions that I just mentioned? Now, mind you, that was the first step. I asked questions like, what can I do to start moving in the direction of that goal today? And I put down, drink more water, start a workout program, get a nutrition guide, eat less sugar, lessen up on the simple carbs, walk more, find others with the same goal, right? Now, the next question would be, how can I stay inspired and motivated to achieve that goal? How can I do that? Well, it's relatively simple. One, I need to write out and see a vision of exactly what I want. I want to see where I'm going. But more importantly, since we're more likely to try to avoid pain, how can I make not moving in the direction of my goal so painful that I'll be motivated to do it? So how can I make it that bad? Well, in my mind, I would think about the situation. I would think about my father, rahimahullah. He accepted Islam after I had accepted Islam, and that was a great blessing. He passed a few years ago. Well, he didn't take care of his health. At about 16, he started smoking cigarettes. He passed when he was 47 years old. So it wasn't the one cigarette, the first one that he smoked, that necessarily deteriorated the quality of his life. But tens of thousands over years, I'm just saying, right? But what I can do is look at how when he was young and vibrant and in his teens and 20s and 30s and he was strong, I could look at that man, then I could see how he didn't take care of his health, and then less than 15, 16 years later, developed lung cancer, and we found out about it in June. By September, he was gone. So I can put that painful picture in my head of my father, whom I love dearly, rahimahullah, and I can picture that pain of not taking care of yourself. And I don't want to be that person. I want to have a higher quality of life. We know that when it's your time to go, it's your time to go. Qadr of Allah is qadr of Allah. But the quality of life that the body that Allah Ta'ala has given me, has lent me for this short time I'm here on the planet, that my soul is residing in, that does not even belong to me. If I want to have a better quality of life, then I should follow what Allah Ta'ala has let us know. I should follow what the Prophet ﷺ advises us of, health and spare time, to take advantage of it before it's gone. So, how can I make that painful? I can think about my father and his situation. I can think about it often. And by doing so, that's painful. Seeing where I want to go, that's pleasure. Then I'm more likely to achieve my desired outcome than I am if it's just a should. Because nobody's holding me accountable. Yeah, I know I should do this. It's this last 20 pounds and, any excuse will do. Remember, you only have to convince yourself that your excuse is good enough. You don't have to convince anyone else. Because if you convince yourself, that's it. There's a saying saying, if you believe you can do it, or if you believe you cannot do it, you're right. Because if you believe you cannot, then you won't. If you believe you can, then you will move in that direction and likely achieve it. Well, our responsibility, if we want to raise outstanding children, we want to raise children that have good motivation and going in the right direction, we have to ask these questions. Not only to ourselves and what we're doing, but also to our children. If they're very, very young, no problem. We can implant those seeds of what's good, tell them why it's good, praise them and reward them. Because again, we respond to reward, we respond to love. We have to understand how Allah Ta'ala had revealed the Quran. We know that the Meccan surahs were dealing with Tawheed. We know that Allah Ta'ala was telling us about Jannah and Jahannam. He was telling us about the Akhirah. He was telling us about worshiping Him alone and not having partners or associates. Alhamdulillah. The Prophet ﷺ, his demeanor was kind. He wasn't harsh to his companions. He was kind. He was loving. He was welcoming. Even in situations where today I know we would respond differently, myself included. If a person came in the masjid and they started urinating in the masjid, I would be pretty upset, similar to how some of the companions were, right? They wanted to take care of him on the spot. However, the wisdom of the Prophet ﷺ, the wisdom of the entire situation, he was patient. He dealt with it in a proper fashion, and that is how we attract. That is how we as Muslims must also be with our da'wah and our character and our Islamic adab. So in doing so, we are gentle with our children. Many times, we're very, very harsh with our children and gentle with strangers that we don't even know. We don't want to be on that. We want to have our charity, our sadaqah to start at home. That just makes common sense. So the thing is this. We can only dig so far by ourselves. We can only go so far before we have a breakthrough. So what are we doing to cement ourselves in the inspiration of the things that we want to achieve? How can we find our motivation? And by finding our motivation, we know what to model as that celebrity for our children. This is one of the main distinctions between someone that's outstanding and others that are average. Average, they just take a crap shoot. It's just a quick little crap shoot. Well, maybe this will work, maybe that'll work. They'll find it out, inshallah. And use inshallah as maybe. We'll talk in the future why that is not productive at all. But alhamdulillah, inshallah ta'ala, you can use the tools that you received today on this episode. And also make sure you go to outstandingmuslimparents.com/discipline for the questions in the worksheets that we have for you. On every episode, we're going to have some great stuff for you to interact and to engage with you to help empower you to become more outstanding in your parenting. I'm Nadir bin Naseeb, signing off with Huda TV. Jazakumullahu khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
While my world was crumbling down, and you tried your best to shelter me from the coming of the storm, you opened my eyes to see that all hope was not gone. You held me in your arms and wiped away my tears. Not even in a million years can I ever repay you for what you've done for me. You were there when I felt that there was no place for me. You were there to show me how to truly believe in the miracle